has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
And we are back, Ferrall, coast to coast, hour number 3 here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Big final hour. We'll finish C2C Golf Wednesdays with Keith Stewart. He is at Pebble Beach getting ready for the event this weekend. We've got basketball we're going to start with here. We haven't done any NFL yet today. I've got some updated Super Bowl numbers for Joe. So a very busy final hour of Coast to Coast with us. Of course, every Tuesday and Wednesday, you get the extended version of the very popular SportsGrid radio show, Carver and Lisi. That is with myself and the encyclopedia of NBA props, the one, the only. Go for the 2, Joe Lisi. Did you like that, Joe? We threw the NBA props in there.
I'm hot as a pistol with some props. I just got to put it all together tonight. I think we have the game plan. Game time. Hero, and maybe Mikal Bridges tonight.
Mikal Bridges tonight. That's for sure, Joe. We will try to get all of those in. How about some college basketball, Joe, to start off our final hour here? We were very involved last night on the radio show.
Michigan got slammed again. Michigan got slammed in a rivalry game.
I told you Michigan was going to get slammed again. They stink, Joe.
Now, Juwan Howard needs to be called out, okay? He took this program from where Beeline had it, and he ran this straight into the ground like a dart, okay? He ran this program straight down. When does he get the heat now? They've regressed every year.
It's fair, Joe. It's fair. It's fair. It hasn't been good.
Nobody wants to call him out because it's Juwan Howard.
A steady downturn for him the last 3 seasons. It's just been getting lower, lower, and lower for him up there in Ann Arbor. I don't disagree with you, Joe, at all. We did have some big upsets last night. South Carolina were 13.5-point dogs at Tennessee, and they won the game outright, 63-59. The big kid number 5 on Tennessee, Joe, he just missed another free throw. Right now. He just missed another one. We welcome in all of our radio affiliates, Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty. SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159, Sports Byline. Great to have everybody with us here. Yeah, the big kid number 5, Joe, just missed another free throw.
Number 3. It was number 3. It was
3,
number
5, whatever he was. He couldn't make a free throw. He ruined him last night. Now, to be fair, he was making shots, but he couldn't make a free throw. And eventually, Joe, this is the stuff you put in the bank for March. And every year, people want to tell you it's going to be different with Tennessee, and we're going to back the Vols, and we're going to back Rick Barnes, and we're going to pick them to go to the Final Four. And Don't waste your time or your money backing Tennessee in March. It's not going to happen,
Arizona,
Joe. Not.
Or Purdue.
Tennessee, Arizona, Purdue. These teams are Purdue and Tennessee are miles away from everyone else. They are. You cannot go anywhere near them.
I don't know how you could say that when Arizona was the number 1 seed and they lost to Princeton last year.
Arizona's getting there. There's no doubt.
Seed,
They're
I
getting
had them
close.
winning it last year, and they got smashed by Princeton.
They were two seed.
They're all the same type of teams, by the way. They can compile and beat up on teams in the regular season, but until you get into the playoffs and it becomes like, playoff hockey, and it's a little rough, and, they don't call the ticky-tack fouls like all of a sudden, these teams don't know how to play, especially it takes on the way their head coaches are. And Rick Barnes is completely gutless. I'll say it. His teams are gutless. Even when they had Admiral Schofield back in the day. Can win in the regular season. You can't win on the road on a neutral court.
You just want to drop that name.
Problem.
That's why. You just want to drop that name, Admiral Schofield.
No.
You did that last night all night, too.
That year, Carver, they had 2 losses, I believe, in the regular
Doesn't
season.
matter.
3 losses,
Doesn't matter.
maybe. They suck.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they do in the regular season. They can go undefeated.
But
it doesn't matter.
The problem is Rick Barnes is sitting on the...
always lose in March.
I know, but you know what? You throw Bruce Pearl in there. You know why I can accept at least Bruce Pearl? Because the guy gets emotional. At least he's willing. Every now and then he might throw a chair. Rick Barnes sits there.
It's funny you bring that up.
He's like clueless. He's clueless.
It's funny you bring that up. It's funny you bring up Bruce Pearl because I'm going to get to him in a moment. North Carolina did lose, by the way, at Georgia Tech. Haro told us it's because they were looking ahead to Duke.
Yeah, I know.
On
looking
Saturday.
Ahead to
that's
a game 5 days later in college basketball. All right.
Looking ahead to Duke. That's why they were upset. All right. Let me set you up here for Pearl. Now, Auburn's playing tonight, Joe, against Vandy. I'm going to give you all those numbers in a minute. You said you love Bruce Pearl because he's emotional. Well, Auburn started this year 16-2. Playing really good basketball. Supposed to be a transition year for them. They've lost a lot of their big players from the last few years, and they've got a lot of younger kids that they were working in. So last week, they go on the road and lose in a couple tough spots. Alabama, Mississippi State. Now they're 16-4. They're still ranked 20th in the country, whatever it is. So Bruce Pearl saw all of the negative energy from the fan base over the last few days. And let's just say, Joe, he wasn't a big fan of it and needs to let the fans know they got to settle down a little bit. Here's Bruce Pearl.
You know, some of the noise over losing a couple games on the road this weekend, and I just think it's important to me. You know, we're going to lose some more games. We're probably going to lose several more games. This team, I kept on saying it over and over again.
I don't want to hear that, Bruce.
Especially when we started winning a little bit. So look, we're better than what people thought, but we're not as good as what they think. There was too much negativity, and I want to sort of protect my players from that in the sense that this team was not supposed to be in the position that we're in this year.
That's supposed to be good.
You're supposed to
and they put themselves in that position. Now, we don't know how it's going to finish, because if we don't improve in those areas, it's going to be it's just going to be an okay, good year. We have to improve those areas. But to this point, right now, I will defend my team and say that they worked hard to be in position that they're in.
All right,
several more games, Joe. They might lose several more games.
I don't want to, setting them up. It's up to him to
pumping
recruit
the kids
talent
up.
To make. He's pumping. You know what? I like them. I think they do match up well against Stackhouse and Vanderbilt. I'm going to take them tonight. But outside of that, big picture, he's another one that when they lost to Miami and they're laying 7.5 and all of a sudden they're getting, boat raced up and down the gym and can't get a stop. I was on them that day and you were on Miami. That's why I say that. That's a problem. Throw a chair. Stop protecting these guys. Step up. It's March Madness. You play at Auburn. I mean, you're a top 15 program. It's not my problem. You got spam hanging out on the shelf. Stock it up. Pay the $10 and get the almond butter. And recruit 5-star talent after they leave. All right? Stop skipping. Don't go to the dollar store for recruits. Pay the money. Pay the money and get the 5 stars in there. You had no problem at Tennessee. Right?
I'm not sure how you got from spam to the 5 stars. You made quite the connection there, Joe. We'll do tonight's games later, but next, Keith Stewart, Golf Wednesdays on C2C. Read the line. We're next. Thought that Mike would maybe go in a different direction or at least listen to some people with some different ideas.
If you were going to retain Mike Tomlin as coach, and I believe with both feet that you shouldn't let him really anywhere near this hire. That he had proof over the years that this was not an area of comfort or expertise for him.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, Trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's a beautiful time. NBA players are going wild. If I had to guess, a lot of people are going to get real angry. No defense, no defense, no defense. See, I want people to understand this, okay? Because we're always honest. When I take that big pause, that means we're thinking about betting big.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman
The
Trophy
early
race
line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall,
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
I
decisions.
have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live. Prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was
Late
better.
Night.
We waited for a 1.5. We got paid
We
information. Did like a 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And we are back, Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty, SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. We continue Golf Wednesdays on C2C with, of course, Keith Stewart, who's with us every week from Read the Line. And this week, he is at Pebble Beach. That is right, home of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am elevated event. 80 golfers, 18 of the top 20, I believe Keith just said to me during the break, are there this weekend. So we have ourselves a great field, first really big field of the 2024 season. Keith, good to see you as always. And let's start with this because it's starting to become the biggest talking point before we've even teed off here tomorrow, and that is the weather. Tell me what the current situation is out at Pebble Beach, because I seen some videos today, and it don't look pretty.
I'll tell you right now, Carver, first of all, good afternoon on a Wednesday there. But if we did this show an hour later, I wouldn't be here on property. They're sending everyone in the media center out because it's like a glorified tent. The wind is unbelievable. I walked a couple holes with Tony Finau earlier, numbers 9 and 10 at Pebble Beach, right along the coast. Finau hit wood into both of those. He would normally, I would say, into 10, hit a 9-iron, and he would hit like a mid-iron into 9. It is wild out here right now, and I mean, this weekend could be a bloodbath. It's going to be fun. Let's get into this.
Yeah, weather always, you talk about a huge equalizer in the golf game. It is always weather. And before we get to your picks, I want to talk to you about this because I've always said in the past when we're doing this and we're talking about these tournaments, whenever there's weather involved, there's nothing that ruins live betting golf more than weather, right? Because you have the stoppages. You're going to go in tonight, the round's not finished. You know, markets are closed. It really does wreak havoc from a golf betting perspective because things can shut down at any moment.
I tell you what, it's the absolute worst. I mean, you're spot on right there. You can't get your ads for the next day. All of the betting for all the live markets, it gets thrown off. And quite frankly, when you're always looking for an edge in a different wave, we've had multiple golf courses for now the third straight week. We have amateurs back in the field. These two golf courses are both very exposed to the elements. It's certainly going to be a factor. It happened last year. If you remember, Justin Rose was on Monterey Peninsula Country Club. He was cruising along. It almost looked like a beautiful day for golf. And then everybody was at Pebble Beach. Seamus Power, Jordan Spieth, these guys, they were just getting capsized in the sea. So it's one of those things where we hate to see the weather become such a factor, but it's also a part of what makes golf betting so much fun, like these 4 long shots winning in a row. But I think with the field we have this week and the iconic venue, we're going to come back to earth. And I can't wait to talk about some of these guys on my outright card.
Yeah, I've had enough. Like it's cool every once in a while to get these deep bombs and these long shots to win, but honestly, Keith, I've had enough. Like we need to get back to somebody under 50-1 winning this golf tournament this week. Let's go. Let's get to your outrights, because here's what I love. I love when me and you are reading the same mail, and I got all your outrights on my card this week as well. Who do you like, Keith?
All right, we got to start right out with the California kid, Max Homa. He was my first click of the week. And when I saw him on Monday, odds dropped. He's around 22-1. He's down in some markets down to 16. I got him at 18. And here's why. He had 8 straight top 15 finishes on the PGA Tour. That stretches back to July. His ball striking has been impeccable. The guy's got 6 wins on tour, 4 of them in his home state of California. He's got 3 straight top 15s here at this venue. And experience matters at Pebble Beach. If anyone's telling you otherwise in the betting markets, they don't know what they're talking about. Every winner since 2006 of this event has had a prior top 21 finish or better before they won. So the fact is that if you're just coming in here cold, and we're not talking about the 2019 U.S. Open here. If you haven't played here in February and experienced what I was walking through today, then you just don't know. And the experience really matters. And that's why a guy like Jordan Spieth is on my card. Another guy right there at plus 1,800. And he's dropped. He started the week almost at plus 2,400. Like, these guys are dropping because Jordan's been here 11 times. 11 made cuts, 6 top 10s. He's got a win in 2017. The guy's electric around here. AT&T loves him. I mean, he's the poster child for this event. And when it gets ugly this week, is there anybody better at ugly golf in the world than Jordan Spieth? You know, you can have your pretty guys like Morikawa and some of the rest of them, but when it gets dirty this weekend, and it's going to get dirty, right? We're seeing it today out there in the practice rounds. Jordan is the guy around the green that can get the job done, and you know it.
Oh, I know it, and that's why he was the first guy that I went to this week, Keith, because even though these fields the last few years have been a little watered down, not elevated events, Jordan's been there every year because of the AT&T sponsorship. He's always at Pebble Beach, so he's been playing here every year. I love your 3 selections. Dangerous Denny McCarthy in the 90s as well. I mean, you need guys who can putt at this place, POA putting, and that's Denny McCarthy. I love him, Keith.
Your last 5 winners combined between around the green play and putting have gained over 5 strokes on the field, you know, right around the greens there. These are the smallest greens on tour that they're going to see all season. And with the wind and the elevation changes, Denny McCarthy, he shot 29 on the front 9 in the final round last year on Pebble. So, I mean, this guy with the putt, you got to go into this thing with guys that can putt on POA, that can putt, that can chip and putt, that can get the job done, get up and down. There's 116 bunkers on the golf course at Pebble Beach. 116, Carver. Right? Like, there's going to be trouble. The wind's blowing off. The sea is angry. Hemingway's out there filming a sequel. I mean, it's crazy out here right now. And I'm telling you, these guys are great.
Your top 10s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. 2 notes on them before you tell me who they are. 1, Højgaard. I added him after the first round last week. I added him after the second round last week. I still can't believe that Pavon hit that shot on 18 and stole it from Nikolai Højgaard. And great call last week by you with Maverick McNeely, and you're going back to the well this week.
All right, top 10, I'm going Højgaard again. And if you want to go outright, I can't argue against it, right? You're getting 4-1 on a top 10. This guy's a bomber. Nobody knows about him. You know I love to study the DP World Tour, but he is one of the best wedge players in this field, and he's an excellent putter. So Højgaard there, top 10. Top 20, I'm going back to that well with Eric Cole. He's got 6 top 20s in his last 9 starts. Everyone's going to say, Keith, he missed the cut last week. Torrey South Course is like 9,000 yards long. This is a wedge fest, putter, chipping, Eric Cole for sure. Love him here. Top 30, I got the Desert Man, I got Adam Hadwin. All right, 6th at the Amex, 14th at the Century. Really good putting on POA. The POA this week is going to be miserable. It's going to be popping. It's going to be soft. It's going to be lumpy. I mean, we're going to get over 1.5 inches of rain tonight before we even start round one. Adam Hadwin is playing well, great wedge player, always plays good in California. If it gets nasty and cold, the guy's a Canadian. And then we're going back to Mav McNeely, top 40. He front-doored that thing last week at 37th place with a kind of an average final round, but he's got 2 top 5s here in 4 starts, and he's from the area.
Loves the course. He'll be in the mix. 1 minute left, Keith. Give me the head-to-heads. What do we got?
All right, I got Spieth over Morikawa, right? I get plus money on that. Spieth 11 times here. I won't be redundant. Morikawa, he's playing a weak fade at Torrey Pines. What's that going to do? I mean, put a sail on that ball. That thing is gone. It's heading over to Hawaii out there in the ocean. And then the other one I love is Homa over Cantley. Cantley, 250-plus places in a row at places he should have tore up. It seems like he's a little fickle with the approach game. I like Homa. I've already said that, but I like him over Cantley. And, hey, Carver, just pray for me come Sunday because this place is going to be an absolute massacre. And I know you and I love that. I can't wait.
And Cantley don't like playing in that stuff either. There's guys who don't like playing in that bad weather, and Cantley's one of those guys. And who knows? You might be there till Monday, Keith. You never know, like last year when Justin Rose won, depending on what goes on this weekend. So have a great weekend out there at Pebble. Let's cash a ton of tickets, Keith. AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Keith Stewart, read the line. Great stuff, Keith. I'll see you again next time.
See you next week.
I thought that Mike would maybe go in a different direction or at least listen to some people with some different ideas.
If you were going to retain Mike Tomlin as coach, and I believe with both feet that you shouldn't let him really anywhere near this hire. That he had proved over the years that this was not an area of comfort or expertise for him.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's a beautiful time. NBA players are going wild. If I had to guess, a lot of people are going to get real angry. No defense, no defense, no defense. See, I want people to understand this, okay? Because we're always honest. When I take that big pause, that means we're thinking about betting big.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news. Trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterback,
Ferrall
backup quarterback.
Coast to Coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
You
decisions.
have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took 'em
time.
yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was
Late
good better.
Night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
Yeah.
Did like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And we're back. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty. SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. Great job by Keith Stewart as he's out at Pebble Beach. And he's got me worried, Joe. I'm not going to lie to you, because the weather is a major factor out there, Northern California this week. I mean, there's videos, just massive winds.
Yeah.
Ripping across that water there at Pebble Beach. That's going to be very, very tricky. We did look up Nicky Hardy for you, by the way. 350 to 1 for Nick Hardy this week. That's his number.
Kid's great on the fairway. He's very good with his irons. Plays well with the woods.
Very good with his irons.
And not only that,
you need that
Carver,
this week.
He grew up in the Midwest, so he's used to these Ryder Cup type of environments.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Did he?
He's a
Did
Midwestern.
You say
what?
These Ryder Cup type of environments? Is that what you said?
Blustery winds, cold and chilly out there on the outskirts of San Jose. Where are they playing this weekend? This is one of these elevated events. I know for the elevated events they really.
You've been listening to us, huh? You've been listening to us. You've been hearing us say elevated event a few times.
Elevated events are just they're just so much better than the
Joe,
regular
the good
ones.
thing is we've covered a lot of the golf today. So thankfully we've got you in. We've penciled you in for Nicky Hardy, and you're good to go. 350 to 1. So I got to be careful, Joe. I don't want to be mean to you, Joe. I don't want to be mean to you, so we need to.
The people have spoken. What can I say?
That's
They got
okay.
my back.
That's okay.
They know.
They should listen to the radio show at night when you're mean to me. You're mean to me at the radio show at night.
I'm never mean to you. I love you.
All right, let's go, Joe. How about the college for tonight? Let's try to do a little bit better than last night. Actually, you got this first. I think I have.
Try and win.
I forgot to move this down. Let's do this first. The odds to win the national championship. And I actually brought this up with you last night because I said now that football's over, and it is over, there's one game left. We just got to get through that. This is when we need to start building the portfolio for March. We need to start adding teams here. Now, this is the chalk, Purdue, all this stuff at the top. Here's a few other ones. Duke's at 25. Now, we saw Kansas at 30 last night, Joe. Now, they beat Oklahoma State by 30 points. Well, I think that where we looked last night, we could still find it at 30. So we can go. We can still. You guys dig around a little bit, and you might still be able to get that number. But I was saying to you, there's a lot of teams in the 70 to 120 to 1 range
that can make some noise.
That could make the Final Four. Like, look at that. You had it last year. San Diego State, FAU. Miami wasn't a heavy favorite, and they made the Final Four. So I think in today's college hoops, where we got into how that's changed with NIL and with the transfer portal, like there are teams in that range, whether it be, FAU's back at 60 here, the Skunk, TCU, 80 to 1, Memphis, 80 to 1, Texas Tech, 90 to 1. How about Gonzaga's 100? Now, Gonzaga's not the same team this year, Joe. But
it doesn't matter. There's no pressure on them, Carver. That's the difference. So, if Gonzaga's going to make a run to the Elite Eight, it's going to be this year because there's no Chet Holmgren and there's no Hachimura and there's no, the cast of the usual suspects.
But
so, maybe they play more like a team this year.
And I just think, Joe, because we saw it last year, I think we could see it again. I think you could get one or two teams from that 60 to 120 range that are going to be in the Final Four. I'm not telling you who they are because I got no idea.
Well,
but these are the teams we need to start zeroing in on and trying to figure out who's going to be those teams.
You don't like Baylor. I like Baylor at 40 to 1. I know it's not that that juicy price, but they played Texas Tech is ranked 15th. They lost to the Skunk last night or the other night, but they're still a top 25 team. You can get them at 90-1. I mean, I still like Gonzaga. The problem is I can't buy into Alabama. I can't buy into Calipari and Kentucky this year. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. Memphis.
And you're also greedy, Joe. You want the deep shots. You don't want the favorites.
Memphis.
You want to go further down the board.
Memphis is good because they can run and they can play like they don't.
Well,
they're not.
They have a lot of talent. Now they've been losing games lately.
They're not a great shooting team. They can run the floor.
No.
They can rebound and they create shots. I sort of like that because they're not living and dying by the three like a team like Creighton. Creighton goes cold come March Madness time. You're dead and buried before you even get out of the gate.
Which is why they lost to San Diego State because they couldn't hit any threes in that game against the Aztecs.
We need teams that can win on the road too. South Carolina could be juicy. They beat.
I feel like
Tennessee.
that's a team that and look, last week they beat Kentucky at home. Like that's a team that I think one of those teams you stash away, and maybe you put some tickets on them to get to the Final Four. All right, Joe, let's go to tonight. Number one, Purdue. Number two, I should say. I keep thinking they're one because DeCourcy has them one every week, and that DeCourcy's doesn't. I do on Tuesdays. Purdue is number two, though, in the country. They have Northwestern coming in. They lost to Northwestern earlier this year, Joe, in Evanston, so it's payback time. This is now up to 14.5 for the Boilermakers. Alabama is at Georgia tonight. 6.5-point favorites on the road. I'd be careful there. Georgia's a little bit better than people let on. They played a tough game with Florida last week. St. John's is at Xavier. Xavier's minus 1.5 in that one. Notre Dame and Virginia in the ACC. There's your Baylor team, Joe, laying 3.5 on the road at UCF. Gabe was saying earlier that he likes UCF tonight in that game.
Yeah, I love Baylor. I think they run them out of the gym. That's one of my better bets.
Run them out of the gym.
Yeah, I don't think UCF is in the same category from a defensive perspective. UCF can run. They're very athletic, but I think in terms of this matchup against Baylor, I just think they get wore down. The one dog I do like, I actually like two dogs on there. I do like St. John's plus the 1.5 against Xavier, but I like Notre Dame over Virginia because, again, Notre Dame, I know they're not that great. Carver, they're not that great, but, again, Virginia, in order to cover that number for Virginia, needs to play their A game. I mean, Virginia laying 12.5 is like basically any team laying 35. You know that as well as anybody. They slow it down better than anybody. Give me Notre Dame plus a 12 and a hook.
I think that's a very tough road game for Alabama tonight. I think they win the game, but I think Georgia will give them a little bit of a push.
Maybe, but I
home.
can't take that. I cannot take that in any capacity. Can't take it.
Here's the next rack that I have for you. Wake Forest is at Pitt tonight. Cincinnati and West Virginia. So a couple short numbers there, Joe. 1.5 for Pitt, 3.5 for Cincinnati. Kentucky, 5.5-point favorite at home against Florida. UConn, 13.5 at home against Providence tonight. Penn State and Rutgers at the State University of New Jersey, minus 6.5 for Rutgers here, Joe.
I sort of like Pitt laying a short number against the Demon Deacons, basically less than a bucket. I'll take a shot on the Panthers and the two dogs that stick out.
Wake's not terrible. Wake's not terrible. They're not a bad team.
I know they're not terrible, but it's 1.5. The fact that it's basically almost a pick. All right, so then you step up, guy, and take the Demon Deacons. I hope the Panthers smash them tonight. That's the first thing. The second thing, I'm taking the Gators against the Wild. They played this game about a week ago. 2 weeks ago. What was the line? 3.5. Florida was favored in that game, weren't they? And they lost the ball game outright. So now they're catching 5.5. You have an adjustment of basically 9 points. Look at that. Over adjustment for the Cow. I'm taking the Gators. I think they win the ball game outright.
I'm going to lay it with UConn, Joe. I think UConn, they're mauling teams right now. You would. Providence, they've shown me nothing here recently. I'm going to lay it with the Huskies. I usually don't love the big number. Like the bigs. We were just talking about Memphis. They're at home tonight for Rice. And Memphis has not been playing well. I think they've lost 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5, somewhere in that area. But Rice comes in tonight. They stink. 15.5, though, is a pretty big number. Arkansas and Missouri get together. Joe loves when they play in football, but tonight they're on the hardwood. 5.5 for Missouri. Vandy and Auburn, we heard from Bruce Pearl earlier. Heavy number, 18 and a hook. New Mexico minus 10.5 against Boise tonight. And finally, Joe, Santa Clara and St. Mary's late night. I like Santa Clara getting the points at St. Mary's. They have been good so far this year in the WCC.
And we should back it up with the under, 135.5, because St. Mary's plays D. They slow it down. I like Auburn. I would take a shot just because he's saying they're going to lose a lot of games. That's a huge number, Carver. 18.5. I know, but they're at home. They should boat race Vanderbilt in Stackhouse. They should boat
Vandy
race
gave
them.
you a little, I know it was at home, but Vandy gave you a little effort against Tennessee over the weekend. That's a big, in the SEC, Joe, that's a big number. These teams like that, you don't see these 20-point blowouts in the SEC.
Yeah,
I'm not playing it, but I lean to Vandy.
Nobody's going to want to lay the 18.5. That's the way I look at it.
So you're going to. So you want to lay it because nobody's going to lay the 18.5.
Well,
you want to
the
go
book
lay
establishes 18.5. We had Tennessee lay 13.5 and lose the ball game outright. Auburn's lost 2 straight. Who in their right mind is going to lay 18.5 in just generalities? That's why I would lay it. I would lay that.
I'm going to lay it with Memphis, too. I'm going to lay it with Memphis.
I'm going to lay it with Auburn. I'm going to step up, okay? I'm going to step up.
They've had some bad games here over these last 2 weeks. This is a good get-right spot for them at home with Rice coming in. I think a lot of people will be on Rice thinking Memphis is in a funk right now. Memphis going to come out and drop the hammer, Joe, on Rice tonight at home. All right, we'll come back. I cannot leave today without giving Joe a little bit of football. I mean, I got to give him a little bit of football. So we'll do some Super Bowl stuff before we get out of there. It's hockey tonight as well. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe for Scotty. We're back on the grid right after this. I kind of thought that Mike would maybe go in a different direction or at least listen to some people with some different ideas.
If you were going to retain Mike Tomlin as coach, and I believe with both feet that you shouldn't let him really anywhere near this hire. That he had proved over the years that this was not an area of comfort or expertise for him.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's a beautiful time. NBA players are going wild. If I had to guess, a lot of people are going to get real angry. No defense, no defense, no defense. See, I want people to understand this, okay? Because we're always honest. When I take that big pause, that means we're thinking about betting big.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news. Trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterback,
Ferrall
backup quarterback.
Coast to Coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
You have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took them
time.
yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was
Late
good betting.
Night.
We waited for the 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Did like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe in for Scotty. SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. BetMGM getting ready. Big game 58 right around the corner next Sunday. San Francisco and Kansas City will be there in Vegas. What do they got for you? How about this? Bet $5. Get $158 instantly in bonus bets. What? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. Place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price. Once you have placed a bet, you will receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. Are you kidding me? Got to use bonus code SG158. BetMGM getting you ready for big game 58. All right, Joe. A couple things before we leave. How about some Super Bowl talk for you? We're kind of in that lull, right, Joe? You're excited early in the week. You know the matchup. Now it's still a week and a half away. You got to get there. Next week we start to ramp it back up when all you guys are out in Vegas. But let's do a couple of things here for this game today on Wednesday. I'll start with Patrick Mahomes, Joe, who was on 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City. Here he is talking about playing in his fourth Super Bowl already.
A little bit. I mean, at the same time, I've already started preparing for the Niners. No, it is really cool. To be able to play in this many Super Bowls in this short amount of time. Never would have even dreamt of it, honestly. But it's cool. But we still want to go out there and win it. We don't want to go out there and make a bad memory. You want to make it a good one.
I agree, Joe. You don't want to go out and make it a bad memory. You got to make it a good one. They got the Niners 4 years ago. They will try to do it again. And now I will roll out for you a bevy of numbers for Super Bowl 58. Let's start with this. Mahomes indoors. Of course, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas is indoors, Joe. 13-1 for Mahomes. Averages 306 yards a game, 68% completion percentage, 34 tutties, and 3 picks indoors. Your boy loves the cool, calm inside.
And think about this, Carver. He's familiar with Allegiant Stadium because he played there this year, number one, and playing against the Raiders, right? And had one of his better performances as it related to a points output. It was one of the few times that Kansas City's offense put up 30-plus points in a ballgame. They trailed that matchup by 14 points early in the first half with a Josh Jacobs run for the Raiders. But he's catching points. Anytime Mahomes catches points, it's just a blind bet, automatic blind bet. He's so good. Him and Travis Kelce are just so good, Carver. I'm telling you. I mean, there should be no thought process to this whatsoever. Just a blind bet automatically on Kansas City. I mean, I don't even know why San Fran is going to show up to this ball game. I mean, it's just a done deal.
Now,
Books decided it already.
The 49ers, like you said, Kansas City and Mahomes, they're familiar with the building. They play there every year. The Niners did play there, Joe, last season. So last year they did. It was late in the year, 37-34. That's right. That's a 60-yard. I have the box score in front of me. Ayuk caught a touchdown. Kittle caught a touchdown. Purdy did play in the game. The Niners, all of that.
Everybody
they all played.
Over. Both games were over. Over from Mahomes.
Up and away.
It's a party
up
over,
and away,
baby.
Joe.
Could be a party over. Just drink some brews. Bet the over.
Party over for the Pro Football Today listeners. There it is, the party over for Joe. This is now Niners -2 and 47.5 as the total. I was saying to you yesterday I thought it would settle at 1.5, and then sure enough, Yesterday it went to 2. Now, I guess I'll try this again, Joe. I think it'll settle at 2 until late next week when everybody starts to put all the action in.
It's not. I'll just say this: I don't see Kansas City becoming favorite. I think you'll have back and forth. It might get down to 1 and then just settle there. I think we'll end at San Francisco. This is me as being a 1-point favorite, which is basically a pick. I mean, here's the thing: either you buy into San Fran or you don't. If you like the 49ers, and the other factor is if you just want to buy Mahomes, buy him now with the 2 points because it ain't getting to 3. I don't believe, and this is probably going to be your best number, 2.5 at the very most.
Here's the next one I've got for you. I know you've seen this one floating around too. I think this one's kind of nonsense. I think that this is just kind of, it's circumstantial. Who cares? The Niners are going to wear the white. Joe likes the uniform talk. It gets Joe very hyped up. Who's wearing the classic? Chiefs are wearing the red. Niners are wearing the white. 16 of the last 19 Super Bowl winners have worn the white jersey, Joe. So 16-3. But what was one of the 3? 4 years ago, Chiefs wore the red against the Niners, who wore the white in Miami. So if you like stuff like that, Joe, there you go. I even have that for you.
Well, Brady wore the white and the Chiefs wore the red, and they got smashed in that game. I mean, here's the thing. Forget the jersey. I need to know the pant. Is San Fran wearing white jersey and the what is it, the gold pants, or are they wearing the white jersey? Well, why don't they go old school Jerry Rice? White jersey, white pant with the stripes going down. What do you mean? No. Those are the Dion jerseys and pants.
They don't wear those anymore.
Well, how do
they
you know?
never wear those.
Why can't they do it for the Super Bowl?
Because you can't just, plop a new jersey and look or pant that you don't wear all year in the Super Bowl. You can't do that. There's rules, Joe, against that.
No,
you can't just pull them out of the closet. We're going to wear the pants we wore 27 years ago.
So you're telling me if Shanahan goes to Goodell, you know what? We thought about it. Fine our ass. We're wearing the white jersey and the white pant, and that's it. That's how we're stepping on the field. You think there's going to be a problem? Absolutely not. Break them out. John Taylor, Jerry Rice, Dion. That's it. White jersey, white pant.
Player props for the big game coming up next week. Me and you have done a few of these on the radio. Mahomes is 260.5. Purdy's 244.5. McCaffrey's 92.5. Kelsey is the highest in terms of the receiving yards at 68.5. Both quarterbacks over under 1.5 touchdowns. Both kickers, Butker and Moody, 7.5 points.
I don't like the board. I want Mecole Hardman and Jennings numbers. Give me those.
I know you don't want the star players. Joe wants the 3rd, 4th, and 5th options.
That's it.
Those are the numbers that Joe lives for. He doesn't want to see any of this other stuff. How about if I give you the most bet ones? You can stay away from these. The most bet props. That way you know to avoid them. Purdy over 11.5 rushing yards. Everybody's running to this because he actually ran in the second half against the Lions on Sunday night. Pacheco over 68.5. Kelsey over 72.5. McCaffrey over 90.5. And Kelsey over 6.5 receptions, Joe. The most bet so far. We have a long way to go.
Based off that board, I got to go with Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice to lead the game in receiving then. I mean, if that's the case, give me Rashee Rice. And I want longest reception to be Mecole Hardman. Give me the speedster out of
I
Georgia.
did see that pop up today, Joe. Tonight on the radio, we'll dive into that. The most receiving yards in the game. I'll give you that tonight, and we'll see where Rice is, and you can play a dart on
suspects. I don't want these
Juwan
guys.
Jennings.
I want Juwan Jennings, and give me Mecole Hardman. Give me a little Justin Watson. That's why people listen to me, the human algo.
Has Hardman touched the football since that fumble in Buffalo down by the goal line? Has he seen the football since then? I'm not sure.
The Walrus knows that in order to win this game, he's got to pull out all the stops. I mean, they could. Maybe
they'll throw Kadarius Toney a bone too, Joe. Maybe they'll get him in the game. He had a huge punt return last year in that Super Bowl against the Eagles.
Tell you what, you know what I'm thinking right now? Right away, you know where my mind goes? Eli Mitchell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's it. Rushing and
You
receiving.
love the guys with the low numbers. Joe wants to go after. These are the most bet touchdown scorers so far. Obviously, it's the names, Joe: Kelsey, McCaffrey, Debo, Pacheco, and Mahomes at 4-1, getting a lot of play for a rushing touchdown.
Give me a Brock Purdy touchdown inside the quarterback sneak.
Yeah, you want to try a little tush push with Brock Purdy, Joe? You want to get in there with the tush push? The Niners haven't run that a lot this year.
I know, but if it's on the 1 foot line, they're going to probably just sneak it in. That's what you need.
Your favorite prop always is the Gatorade. Joe lives for the Gatorade. And it's tight this year, Joe. 270, 220, 225 purple, 275 blue,
year.
450 yellow green lime, 500 red pink, 500 orange, 10-1 for the clear water, 30-1, no Gatorade at all for 30-1.
Yeah, that orange has been on the move. You know what my Doppler says? My Doppler says the clear water, 10-1. We're going to the clear. We're going to the clear. I'm not talking about Barry Bonds.
It's on the move because everyone's on the orange. Everyone's on the orange,
I know that. I'm not on the orange. I don't like the fluctuation in the price movement. They have the purple. There's no shot. I'm tell you
on
this.
The blue.
Deductive reasoning, okay? They still use this in education at some point. Deductive reasoning. There's no shot the purple comes out. Purple came out last year. That was the outlier. No shot. No shot, purple.
No shot.
Year. Absolutely no shot. So scratch that off the list. No. Go with the clear. I'm telling you.
Well,
all right.
Next week, Joe, I'm sure they'll start to put. You know what my favorite props are, and they don't put these up till next week. In fact, sometimes till the end. I love the ones with the cross sport from the same day. I don't even know who's playing in the NBA and NHL that day.
Sucked into these like the NHL.
I love those.
Here it is. I already
goals
know the bet.
Who's playing that day,
2+
Joe?
goals.
I'm going to get more into this.
Edmonton over, Draisaitl. Who else? But is Bedard going to be back?
Here we go.
So good.
Goals in the Canuck Capital game versus Kelsey catches. Like those, I love those props. I love them. So
I hate those.
I will be next week. I'll get myself more involved in those. So there you go, Joe. I gave you a couple props for the Super Bowl. I promise you tonight on the radio, I'll get you the most receiving yards in the game, and we'll take a look at that, and we'll see where those are looking.
Draisaitl.
I don't think I have time to let you hear Jerry Jones say that the Cowboys are all in. I'm not sure that I have enough time for that.
We heard
but Jerry
that
Jones,
already. He's all in. Is that him? He looks terrible.
He does look terrible. You know what, Joe? I'll give you one before we leave. After the break, I'll give it to you. All right? I'll give you Jerry real fast before we get out, and I'll give you the hockey. Now, there's 3 hockey games tonight, Joe. You saw this last night. 4 teams, and by the way, we hit the Sharks at 2-1 again outright with the win. But you had 4 teams that looked like they didn't want to be there. It's time for the break. We're going away. Columbus, St. Louis, Seattle, and now tonight, Joe. I think it's the same deal. What's all these teams got their eyes on after tonight? A week off. So I think it's unders tonight, Joe. Under. I think we go unders all across the board in the NHL. All 3 games. Altum too, Joe.
Looking
under
for happy
4.5.
hour. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. They're looking for happy hour.
They're looking for it. Ferrall Coast to Coast. Carver, I, and Joe for Scotty. We'll come back, wrap it up after this. Thought that Mike would maybe go in a different direction or at least listen to some people with some different ideas.
If you were going to retain Mike Tomlin as coach, and I believe with both feet that you shouldn't let him really anywhere near this hire. That he had proved over the years that this was not an area of comfort or expertise for him.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's a beautiful time. NBA players are going wild. If I had to guess, a lot of people are going to get real angry. No defense, no defense, no defense. See, I want people to understand this, okay? Because we're always honest. When I take that big pause, that means we're thinking about betting big.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman
The
Trophy
early
race
line.
and what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Ferrall
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
You have
decisions.
no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live.
Just
Prime
took 'em
time.
yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the fourth inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
Sports Rage
That was
Late
competitive.
Night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Patient, didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And we're back. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe for Scotty. All right, Joe, before we leave, here it is. We'll let you see Jerry say that the Cowboys are all in this year because they haven't been all in every year since they haven't made the Super Bowl. Here's Jerry.
I would anticipate, with looking ahead at our key contracts that we'd like to address, we'll be all in.
All in. Wow.
I would anticipate we'll be all in at the end of this year.
All in.
So when you say, is there any thought, I think we'll strain our, we'll push the hell out of it.
Okay. Is that doing something differently than you had in the past in that respect?
Well, it will be, and it will be going all in on different people than you've done in the past.
Wow.
We'll be going all in. We've seen some things out of some of the players that we want to be all in on. And yes, I would say that you will see us this coming year not building for the future.
Say it again. Say all in one more time, Joe.
They're all afraid. You know, it's Jerry. Can't ruffle Jerry's feathers.
Jerry.
You know, it's Jerry. What do you mean by that, Jerry? I mean all in. Elaborate.
All
because
in.
You sound
All
like
in.
you got marbles in your mouth. Come on.
Joe, here we go. Senators and Red Wings, under 7, minus 125. Kings and Predators, under 6, minus 115. Sharks and the Ducks, late night, under 6, minus 110. It's under night in the NHL. They can see the pina coladas as when the game ends tonight. They want out of there. The beaches, the pina coladas, unders in the NHL, Joe. They can't wait to leave. That's where we're going.
I'm not going to bet it because I have a feeling it's going to go contrarian from last night.
Oh,
right? They're
sure.
gonna say
I know. I
tonight
know.
will be
Sure.
all the overs.
Go on the other
10,
side.
14
Bet all
goals.
the overs. Joe, I'll see you tonight. Carver and Lisi, 8 p.m. East on SportsGrid Radio. Game time decisions is next. Ferrall Coast to Coast back tomorrow. Scotty will be here. It's a Warren Sharp Thursday as well. Cash some tickets tonight. Great job by Mafia and the crew. We'll see you tomorrow on Coast to Coast.